When you think of some of the greatest hockey players in NHL history, the guys who come to mind include, of course, the great one Wayne Gretzky, as well as the magnificent one Mario Lemieux, or even someone like Bobby Orr. But one player who maybe didn't put up the point totals or win the individual awards in the same way as those other three and many of the other top players of all time, but who is still regarded as one of the most legendary players the game has ever seen, is Russian superstar Pavel Datsyuk. Datsyuk, also known as the Magic Man, is the most skillful player of all time. He could do things with the puck that no one else could, and that no one else will likely ever do again. Although Pavel played just 14 seasons in the NHL, the impact he left on the game of hockey was nothing short of remarkable, and the goals he scored and memories he gave fans of this great sport will last a lifetime. Datsyuk was truly one of a kind, and is likely responsible for a whole new generation of hockey fans. After being drafted in the 6th round, 171st overall in 1998, many consider Datsyuk to be the greatest draft steal in NHL history. In 1998, the Red Wings were coming off of winning back-to-back Stanley Cups with many legendary players already in the lineup, like Steve Yzerman, Sergei Fedorov, and Nicholas Lidstrom, among many others. And although they were drafting late in the first round and weren't supposed to be getting any stud players, one of the team's head European scouts, Håkan Andersson, had other ideas. And Andersson was able to discover a player that no other teams knew much about, and someone who would go down as arguably the best player taken in the 1998 draft. Pasha was what some might call a late bloomer, and actually was drafted at the age of 20, while most of the top players selected are 18 years old. Andersson discovered Datsyuk in his last year as a junior player, and was originally going to watch and scout another player named Dmitry Kalinin, who was actually playing against Pavel's team that night and would be taken by Buffalo 18th overall that same year. After watching him play, Andersson became very intrigued by Datsyuk's game and was especially impressed by his hard work, hockey sense, and skill, according to an MLive article by Anzar Khan, which I will link in the description. Andersson went on to say that he thought Datsyuk was good enough to make the Russian junior national team, but also realized it could be a bad thing, because at the time not many teams knew about him, and making that team would likely give him much more exposure. Luckily for the Red Wings, he would not make the team and continued to fly under the radar. Andersson would make the difficult trip to watch Datsyuk play again later in the year, and continued to note how amazing his hands were, as well as his phenomenal hockey sense and ability to read the play. The main reason why no other teams knew much about Datsyuk was due to the fact that he played in Yekaterinburg, which at the time was very difficult to get to with very few flights that went outside of Moscow, making it a 3 or 4 day trip just to see him play. On draft day, Andersson had to convince then assistant GM Jim Nill and then GM Ken Holland that drafting Datsyuk would be a good idea. Andersson said that when the team, quote, finally got to the point where all the good names were gone, Kenny had the confidence in me to let me choose. So we drafted Datsyuk based on what I said. And man, would this pick pay off for the Detroit Red Wings, thanks largely in part to Håkan Andersson, who is also credited as being responsible for the drafting of Henrik Zetterberg, Tomas Holmstrom, and Johan Franzen along with Datsyuk. Pavel would play a few more seasons in Russia before coming over to the NHL for his rookie year in the 2001-02 season. Playing a limited role, Datsyuk would still help the Wings win another Stanley Cup in his first year, and would start to show people that he would be a key piece of this next wave of Detroit Red Wings. The Magic Man would start to get more and more ice time over the next few seasons and would become a two-way bona fide superstar by his 3rd and 4th seasons. And although the numbers were certainly impressive, what was even more impressive were the things he was able to do on the ice. His ridiculous stick handling skills coupled with his complete 200-foot game, which would eventually help him earn 3 Selke trophies in a row from the 2007-08 to 09-10 season, and he would also have 4 other top 5 finishes later in his career. During this stretch of his career, he was certainly the most dominant, putting up 97 points in back-to-back years, both times leading his team. And he would also help Detroit win yet another Stanley Cup in 2008, where he put up 23 points in 22 playoff games. And he of course also helped lead the team back to the Cup final the next year in 2009, where they were taken down in 7 games by the Pittsburgh Penguins in a rematch. That same season, Datsyuk finished 3rd in the overall Hart Trophy vote for NHL MVP. And while the team wouldn't get back to the Cup final, Datsyuk and the Wings still made the playoffs each of the next 7 seasons until the 2015-16 season, when Pavel would retire from the NHL and return home to Russia. While Datsyuk was in the NHL, he became one of hockey's most legendary players, and at times was able to transcend the game of hockey. Some of the moves he made, the skills he showcased would wow not only the hockey world, but the sports world in general for many years. And the fact that he has hour-long highlight reels of his best goals show how truly amazing he was. The man literally has his own deke in the NHL video games and had Detroit announcers calling his moves Datsyukian dekes. Pasha also had a rocket of a shot and one of the best backhanders in NHL history as well. All of that, coupled with his attention to detail in his defensive game, made him one of the toughest players to play against and one of the most well-respected players of all time. Most people don't necessarily have Pavel Datsyuk too high in the GOAT conversation, but one-on-one, this man could take on anyone and likely come out on top. Datsyuk did things in his career that most people likely never thought was possible, and the mark he left on the game of hockey is nearly unmatched. The Magic Man was truly special, and we will likely never see another player quite like him again. We can only hope.